Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Jouban here.
So, Alan, it is December, what is today, 17th?
It's getting close to the holidays. That's all I know.
It is. We're back
Yeah.
from UFC Milwaukee. I was in Milwaukee over the weekend, so we will talk about that. This morning, we went to see Anderson Silva, so talk about that. But how was your weekend, Alan? Because you know where I was. I was on the road. I know you watched some fights, but there was a lot of fights going on. I did not get to watch Bellator. I did not get to watch Invicta, but I know there was a lot going on. But what'd you do this weekend?
Yeah. There was so many fights going on, Karyn, but I couldn't keep up with all of them. First of all, like the Bellator these days, I don't know. Sometimes it's on TV, sometimes it's on the Zone.
The Zone, yeah.
I can't keep up with it.
Right.
Yeah, no. So I pretty much watch Bellator on Instagram, and I did the same with Invicta. I couldn't find it all. UFC was the only thing I really followed, and I was following you guys. You know, I was kind of going through this emotional roller coaster journey of the ending of Fox through you guys' emotions. So I was watching the fights from the TV, watching you guys. But how was the trip to Milwaukee?
Well, so it was good. It was cold, like I expected, but actually not as bad as I thought. There was none of that crazy white stuff on the ground, none of that snow. I really didn't have to be outside for too long. Like I said, I met some people that were very, very friendly and very cool. But it was a weird weekend for me because, as you just mentioned, that was the final UFC on Fox show. So I literally have at this point a weigh-in show left, a pre-fight show, and a post-fight show on FS1. And that's it for my Fox programming. So it's hard, right? Because you're excited. It's a fantastic thing. You're living the dream there with the fights, and they were so good. But every second that ticked away, you also felt it's getting away from
Coming
me.
to a close.
Here it goes. And so every fight that kind of went along through the night, it was building up toward the fights I really, really, really wanted to see. Co-main event, main event, but every inch closer meant a closer to the end. And then when we were on the air for the post-fight show saying goodbye, like, I'm really not that sentimental, but they show their retrospective and everything, and you're like, yeah, we've done a lot together.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot together. I've been there for 6 years. I haven't had a job that I stayed in one place for that long. So it did get to me. We were joking, like, is it getting dusty in the arena? Like near the end, but I'm lucky that it is not the end for me with the UFC, but it is the end of the part of UFC on Fox, and that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
It sucks because such very cool people that I worked with.
I felt it. I could see in your tone of voice, or you kind of holding back every time that you're usually the one doing closing. Like you set everybody up and you close it as well, and you kind of kept closing the show, and get my phone out and like start Instagramming it because it was like, it was just like I felt like it was I don't know, like you said, it's like you're signing your yearbook in the last day of school, man. It was the last time it was gonna happen each time. So the UFC tonight was on Wednesday. You kind of did the closing there. We worked together on UFC Now. It was the last one for the year, but we're doing it again next year. And then for the last one on Fox. It was fun. Like I said, I would have hated to have taped it and missed it or not seen it. I was happy to watch it live and kind of go through the emotions. A lot of you guys were kind of going through it at the same time, so I just wanted to be a part of it while it's happening.
Yeah, well, and we all took, we took a bunch of pictures, right? So they did this one shot where all the Fox people came out on our little stage, they did a shot, from inside the octagon, and like they thank all the people to Fox, and then they shot up to us, and then like we turned around, and when you're there and you're there with all the people, oh, I love her, she's awesome, he's hilarious, I love that dude, you know what I mean? And then you're there, but literally, at the end of the show, the way they had the goodbyes, and they were kind of split up in a couple ways on the script and this and that, and you keep stalling, you know what I mean? It was like stalling to get to the goodbye part, like, and they're in my ear telling me how much time is left in the show, and you're like, I don't want to get to the goodbye part yet, you know what I mean? It was weird. So that night after the fight in Vegas, I don't know. It's gonna be really, really, really hard because that's the final. These are like warm up goodbyes, and then that will be the final one to the goodbye on the Fox people. So that's gonna suck.
The good thing about the card, the final show on Fox was that the fights held up.
Yes,
the fights were amazing. I felt like the energy there, the fights that the people, the fighters were putting on. it gave us a lot to talk about. And I mean, you were in a different seat than me, but for me, I would go through the roller coaster with you guys of like talking about the emotions. But then and then when the fights would happen, like it was, thank God it wasn't some type of Francis Ngannou versus fight where you're like, oh my God, this is the last show. This is how we're closing out this memory. It wasn't like that. It was a bunch of fireworks going on. Great fights that night.
Yeah, it really was. So I have to ask, going into this fight, I don't think you and I made picks on this one because, or I don't, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But since there's a lot of ways to approach this, but I personally thought Al clearly won. What about you?
Sure. Yes. I mean, clearly is in terms of clearly 3-2. But you know what? I say clearly, but I thought that I was unsure. But I remember thinking I wouldn't want to be a judge getting the first 4 rounds absolutely correct. But in my eyes, it was 2-2. And Al clearly won the last round. So if you had it 2-2 going into the 5th and Al clearly won, I did have it 3-2 in favor of Al. There were some rounds where, maybe someone got a takedown, but then someone did more damage that were kind of back and forth, and people probably will argue about those rounds. But I think when you look at the fight as a whole, even though they aren't judged as a whole, when you look at the fight as a whole and you look at the amount of damage that Al inflicted upon him, he clearly won the fight. And then you look at it, as we just mentioned, 2-2 going into the 5th. Al clearly swept the 5th round. So I agree with you on that. But I think that there's some rounds in like maybe 2 and 3 that people might have been going back and forth.
Yeah, because for me, I gave Al 1-4-5. Because round 1 was close. So I could see how that one to me might have been the least clear fight. Or at least clear round.
Right.
So I did actually give that one to Al initially. But 2 and 3, very, very, very much Kevin. And when Kevin was dominating, Kevin was very dominant, right, in terms of position, in terms of control. I give Al a lot of credit for his submission defense and his composure. To me, I know, there were certain times when they would zoom in on Al and, Kevin's got his back and Al is fighting off the hands and he's also in a body lock. And he never really looked panicked to me, you know what I mean? Al just always looked calm and composed and, okay, I know I got to work on this, but don't forget about this, but fight the hands here, do this. So to me, that was, it proved how seriously they took Kevin, right? Because Al can't be that composed and that relaxed if he hadn't drilled that a gajillion times because they know Kevin is good enough to put him there. So to me, that really spoke to how ready he was for somebody like Kevin. And when Kevin is saying afterwards, oh, I'm embarrassed or that I lost, you shouldn't be embarrassed that you lost to a very good fighter who clearly just really took you seriously and prepared for you. You know what I mean? There's no shame in that. I get what Kevin's coming from, but I thought 2 and 3 were definitely his. So I gave Al 1-4-5. And I guess it's because, the control element that Kevin had over him didn't do as much damage, right? Is what Al was doing to Kevin, what showed more and was more impactful than what Kevin was doing to Al.
You said the key words right there, Karyn. I mean, that's what I was going to piggyback off you on was, even the times that Al was in trouble, Kevin had his back. But, let me say this. He had his back a couple times, and he was doing those elbows from the back, if you remember, a couple times. And those were damaging, and those you could see him progressing, trying to hurt him. But there were other times that he wasn't, but he was doing more control. But when they got back to the feet, you saw a lot more damage, a lot more ring generalship in terms from Al. And, when he started landing, he really landing. And then we also saw the Kevin Lee get pretty badly hurt. I don't remember if that was the 3rd or the 4th round, but when he got pretty wobbled there, he definitely had more impact on the fight in terms of when he was winning, what was happening in terms of damage. Yeah,
it's tough, though, because, I don't like seeing stuff when people are upset after a fight. You know what I mean? And like you get it. That's a lot of emotion there. No. So again, I don't like when Kevin's saying things like embarrassed and stuff. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You fought. Yeah. You fought hard. It was a really good fight. One thing I will ask you about, though, Alan, that I know was frustrating Tyron sitting next to him is Kevin kept switching stance. And and when he was in southpaw, Tyron was getting frustrated because he thought, okay, maybe you could do something interesting there offensively, maybe. But he was like, but your defense isn't strong enough yet. in this stance. And he felt like a lot of time when he switched to southpaw, he ended up taking more damage. The damage was worse than wasn't worth the risk of switching stances. So I'm curious what you took from that and how Kevin sort of his strategy in going against Al.
Yeah, that's the interesting point of view. Was it Karyn that noticed that? Yeah, and so I remember also I think Felder kind of pointed something out during the during the cast. Yeah, that's the thing. He's very comfortable in both stances, but unless you're just a taekwondo guy from a young age, most guys still have a dominant stance, and his is orthodox. You know, the thing is that his corner, you could see his corner telling him, "You're doing good. You're landing from the southpaw stance." So from what I remember from the fight, Kevin Lee's corner was stay in the southpaw, stick to the game plan, and throw what you have been working on from the southpaw. Now, as we get into it, he was still taking more damage, and you see it. When you're fighting from your weak side stance, you know your arsenal is limited. Yeah. Usually, I tell people throw 1 or 2 strikes and convert back to your original stance because it's safer. And you said as well, it's safer because your defense is aligned. Your defense is out of whack from the weak side stance. So go to your weak side stance, throw your strikes, try to catch him off guard, but then convert back when you're in danger to your stronger defensive stance, which is highly likely that it was orthodox stance. So I know what you mean there. He's so good from both stances, but I heard him in an interview after the fight saying that he had already pointed out that was a problem. He must have watched the fight or maybe listened to his Instagram or whatever it may be, but he brought up that I stayed in southpaw a little bit too long, and I think that was a bad decision in game planning. So I don't know if it was him and his coaches going back, but it's something that he did recognize. I'm happy for and he will address it. But it's a tough thing, when you have a game plan, you have a coach telling you something's working, but it's not really working. You're taking damage at the same time.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought was a problem to me was just output in general. I didn't think Kevin was just throwing enough. I didn't think there was just enough volume. I mean, you can't catch anybody with a punch you don't throw, So to me, he was just kind of one-offing a little too much. I wanted to see more combinations. And I thought Al kind of put a little bit more together. He would work body, head. He would kind of mix up the arsenal. He'd fake the single leg. He would, just seem to be doing more out there. But also, when he did throw a punch, through more combinations. And I was laughing. I got hair. Sorry, I tweeted that I literally could hear Matt. I mean, I know everybody could, but when they put our stage up,
he was loud.
You work the body, like Matt Serra is screaming, but he's right. I mean, he's right. He has a point, and I thought Al just showed a fuller arsenal of strikes in the fight.
Yeah. Al probably had the loudest, most New York, Long Island corner you could possibly have screaming at him the whole fight. I could hear it too on the TV. And I agree. That was another thing that you pointed out that Kevin Lee addressed. He said that his biggest kind of letdown was after the fight. He felt like he still had something in him. He felt like he didn't leave it all inside of the octagon, and that really bugged him, especially when you're fighting for such high stakes in 5 rounds, and you're gonna fight 5 rounds and feel like I didn't leave it all out there. Then that's something he's gonna reflect on and be a little hurt from. Another thing that I noticed too. Did you notice this? This might have just been my opinion, so maybe you didn't notice this, but when they went to the center of the octagon and they were waiting for the judges' scorecards, I felt like Kevin was acting, and it's just something he was in a moment where he didn't know what to do. But when they announced that Al was the winner, he was in a state of shock, like for real, and I felt like, man, I feel bad for him because I felt in my mind what was happening was that he was like he said, he was embarrassed. And so he didn't know how to act in the moment. So he acted like, what? I got robbed. But you could see it wasn't genuine. He knew that he had lost the fight in his heart, but he didn't really know how to act at the time. He went and sat down in the corner of the octagon, as you saw, and we got to speak with him. And he addressed it then. He said, you know what, I'm embarrassed and this and that. And so that's when I really I felt bad for the guy because I like him, man. Win or lose, he's a good guy. He's fun to watch. He's a smart guy. And he just kind of was in a moment where he didn't know what to do because he was so confident going into this fight that he was definitely going to win. He was so confident he was going to get this win and dominate passion. So for him to get kind of picked apart in 3 of the 5 rounds, he was embarrassed. He was caught off guard.
Yeah, I didn't get to see all of that because once the main event is over, we're kind of setting and scrambling.
Right.
We're about to do. So I saw part of it. I'm turning around and I could see, when they read the decision and he was, surprised. So I didn't see everything beforehand and the body language and all that. But I do applaud Kevin in his, on Instagram and stuff. I think you were mentioning this, how he's, telling people like he's not worried about the haters and that's fine. I'm going to stay confident. And like people were kind of making fun of the stuff he was wearing and they tagged him along with Chris,
I liked
his character. And he's like, bring them all. I want to see them all. Like that's the thing, I really like Kevin too, and I like his confidence. I like his swagger. I really enjoy talking to him, and I don't want him to lose that. So I think, bring it on. So what? You lost a fight, but don't change who you are, because I think I really like who he is. I don't want him to change.
I like it. And look, maybe I wouldn't wear the outfit Kevin wore entering the ring. Maybe our viewers wouldn't. But if you're watching TV and you got everybody over there, you got the lights dim, you got the music up, the volume up, and you see the main event about to start, you want to see a guy walk in with a fur coat on and a gold chain, and he's whatever he's doing because he's got style, he's got swagger, and you go, this is the main event. Look, Iaquinta fought his butt off, but when he walked in like Reebok black Reebok's jumpsuit, it wasn't exciting. When Kevin walked in, that shit was exciting. So whatever, they could hate on him all at once, but it's fun, it's TV, it's entertainment, it's fighting. I love this part of it now that we have more guys dressing up and stuff. I love that. When I watch the basketball games and I see LeBron James wearing a suit with a shorts on and he's got like a man purse, I'm like, this is dope. I might not wear a man purse, but I swagger, the reflection of their personality being brought out in these little moments. So keep it up, Kevin. I like it, man.
Absolutely. We've got our Cam Newtons, our ODBs. You know what I mean? Like, just bring it on. I 100% agree. But the funny thing is like, you talk about Al walking in his Reebok. But if Al showed up in anything other than that, you'd be like, who changed Raging Al? You know what I mean? Like, it's just as organic for Raging Al to be the guy showing up like that, just coming to work in his work clothes, which are sweats. You know what I mean? Salt to the earth, meat and potatoes guy. So that's, I mean, we have room for everybody in MMA. But I really have always been a fan of Al's ever since The Ultimate Fighter. And he really has been maturing. I know he's still Raging Al, and we still talk about you booing me and him trashing hotel rooms back in the day. But Al has really been growing up. He's really mature, and you can tell, the relationship he has with Matt and Ray. They believe in him so much. They talk about his work ethic in the gym. They have known for how good he is. And I feel like the other night we were able to see really how good Al is. I mean, obviously we know if he made it all the way out of the fight with Khabib without dying, without getting mauled, we knew he was good. But I feel like this was kind of a nice fight for him to have, to shake off the loss to Khabib that even still put him in good standing, but to prove to people that, I actually am really good. Like, I'm really good, I'm not sure who he should fight next, but I thought that was a great performance from Al.
I agree. A great performance, underrated. I got to say, I apologize to him if I haven't showed him any love in these type of podcasts and things lately, because honestly, he's just kind of been out of the limelight, and he's not a guy, like you said, he doesn't dress flashy. He doesn't always talk flashy. Now and then he'll do some rock star shit like trash a hotel room, but other than that, he's not a guy that's always in front of the camera selling himself. So it's easy to kind of write him off, but when he comes in there and performs like that, it reminds you, this guy is high level. This guy is a guy that can go in there and box with the best boxers in the UFC. He can wrestle with guys. Reminded me of how good of a fighter he is. And like you said, I don't really know where he is in the lineup now, because if Kevin Lee would have won that fight, then Kevin Lee kind of gets ushered into that list, that short list of the Khabib, Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor. And that's my order, kind of how I have the top four. And then you put a guy like a Kevin Lee in there, somebody who's on the rise, somebody who's got a win streak. Kevin Lee just got an L, the W. So where does that put Al? I think Al needs to go and do a little talk and just keep this momentum going throughout the new year to keep the big fight in the near future. I could see Al and maybe like a Nate Diaz type fight. I don't know if Nate would take that fight, but those are two guys who aren't necessarily in the top 2 or 3, but would put on a very entertaining fight.
they have the same kind of fans, Alan. I don't want to split. You can't split up a Diaz fan and an Iaquinta fan. Like they're the same kind of guys. Like.
Yeah, but we can go East Coast, West Coast, Long Island to the west.
Don't make me pick is basically what it comes down to because, But yeah, I mean, it is tricky because I think Al was number 8 before that fight. We know that, Habib is probably going to fight Tony. Tony already beat Kevin. So that does shuffle some things down. One thing we were talking about as Al was leaving the set, Edson Barboza was coming in, and we were like, okay, you guys have never fought before. I don't think they had. We know that Edson lost to Kevin Lee, so he's another one of those names up there. But Alan, as a striker, I got to believe that you were on your feet for this Edson Barboza-Dan Hooker fight. Like, I lost my mind. Like, I legit was freaking out at that fight at how amazing it is that Dan Hooker is alive and, like, lasted that long. I had tweeted out before, and I was like, I hope we get at least a round and a half because I know they're both so good. And I know both of them could get the other guy out of there really fast. But I was like, please, I just want to see this fight for so long because they're both so good. But, my God, by the end, I was like, I don't know what Dan Hooker is made of. Apparently, he's half zombie. Like, this dude is still here. Edson threw every single thing. He kept coming. I mean, how dramatic was that when he, at the end, like that's one of the most dramatic things I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And how crazy is it to finish the year and see two of the toughest fighters with the toughest fight? We'll go from Bryant Ortega where we're like, is this guy human? The amount of damage that he sustained and kept on going all hard. And then the next weekend or so, we see Hooker go in there and God, I don't know who I felt worse for at the time. Well, Bryant Ortega is my friend. It was hard to watch that, but he was getting punched in the face. But I almost feel more for Hooker when somebody is just kicking you in the kneecap over and over and over. And I'm a guy that I kick people and I get kicked, and I know what it's like. I'm always on crutches after I fight, and there is no way that Al is not on crutches or in a wheelchair right now. I promise you. I would love to see. You know how after Uriah Faber fought Jose Aldo, he tweeted a picture of his leg, and we've gotten that. Like the fighters say, you know what? I'm gonna throw my pride aside and let you guys see this, and everybody's like, oh my God, yeah, exactly. I would love to see the kind of damage that he took. Because it was hard to watch. I mean, that leg was gone. He started working on the opposite leg, started hitting the body, hitting the liver, kick. He got hit in the liver, and he just pushed through it. Normally, the liver shot takes about like 30 seconds to go away. He got rid of it in like 8 seconds. He just toughed it out. And Barboza, such a crafty fighter, he goes back to the liver, kicks the liver like 10 times in a row, just kept chipping away at it. Inevitably, it was the body, the liver shot that put him down. But such an entertaining fight. I'm embarrassed to say I did not see the other fight of the night, the one that was on the prelims. I got that fight because I was busy at the time, so I didn't see it. So respect to those men. I heard it was an amazing fight. But to see the damage that Hooker and Barboza inflicted upon one another, I was sad to see these guys not get some type of extra bonus for taking that much type of damage.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I kind of thought they were going to get fight of the night, so I was surprised they didn't. And then I also was surprised that at the end, Edson didn't even get a performance bonus, which I thought was very surprising. And also, I just thought it'd be cool if he got it because his wife is 6 months pregnant. They have a baby girl on the way.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like extra money is always, it's always good for everybody. But I really thought at the very least Edson would get a performance bonus. But I thought they would get fight of the night. But to your point about the injury, that was the other thing is that Dan Hooker has to go all the way home to New Zealand. And I was just thinking about, oh, my God, like that flight, the pain. Like, if they're swelling, is he just going to be compression wrapped, I hope, from head to toe? Or, like, maybe stay here in the States a little longer? Like, that's instantly where my mind went was, how much pain is this poor guy going to be in for the 20-hour trip or whatever, to get home from Minneapolis? Ugh.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. You're absolutely right. It is the worst thing because normally when I fight international, I schedule my flight, like, early the next morning. Right. And sometimes I don't even go to bed. And so when you're getting on a flight and you got inflammation in your limbs or wherever it may be, and like you said, you're flying long periods of time where you're going to swell up anyway with injuries and you're cramped up it makes the injuries a lot worse. Sometimes guys have to change their flights. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed a couple more days in Milwaukee and just kind of let some of the swelling get out, did some work, went somewhere to a sports therapy place and got some of that on a long flight and making that even worse.
Yeah, I think so. But, when it comes back around to Edson Barboza, for some, if people didn't hear it, long story short, he used to train in New Jersey with Mark Henry and Frankie Edgar and all those guys. And basically, he really didn't like the winter there. Obviously Edson Barboza is Brazilian. And we were talking to him about this after off camera, but he was basically saying that he got so depressed in the wintertime. He didn't want to leave his house. It was such a struggle for him to go to training because it was so cold in Jersey. He's such a tropical blooded guy, being Brazilian, that it was hard for him to rally, and he just would get sad and kind of depressed, and it was hard for him. So they moved to Florida because also his Muay Thai coach had moved down there and relocated. They went down there in Florida now. He's training with Renato Moicano all the time now. That's, I guess, his main training partner. He's so much happier there. With the weather is much more like Brazil. Like I said, his wife is pregnant with another child. She's happier. And Edson was just saying, what a renewal it was for him, and what a great thing it was for him to relocate and hit the reset button. He said, oh my God, of course I miss all my partners up there and up in North. He said, but we're so much happier now here in the Florida and a new environment and everything. And he just seemed to be in a great place. Mentally, physically. I mean, he was limping when he came to the desk. He was definitely limping too. Because, like you're saying, all those kicks, I mean, he's on the end throwing it. It hurts him a lot too. But I'm hoping, I guess my point with that is, Edson has had a tough go. They did put him against wrestlers like Kevin and Habib, and it is hard to beat those guys. But I think also maybe we just weren't getting the best out of Edson the last couple times because maybe his spirit really just wasn't 100%, and so now with this victory, with his move and all this stuff, I'm just thinking we might see an even scarier and more dangerous Edson in the next few fights, which is kind of dope.
Yeah, I know, right? Happy to hear that he's kind of reinvigorated, found a new place, found some warm tropical climate, got the win. His wife's pregnant, living that best life. Good for Edson. I've said it before. Edson Barboza, from my striking IQ, is just my favorite striker in terms of power, speed, just everything, technique, crispness. He just has everything in the tool tank. So he's such a great striker. But yeah, when you train someplace where it's hard to get out of bed and want to go and be excited about going to the gym, it just brings your spirits down. So being in a warm climate, he happy to train. You get more creativity, and then we see the finished product. So it's a good thing for him. Happy to see that. And like you said, if we could see an even badder Edson stepping back inside of the octagon, then a treat for all of us.
Very much so. And I'm curious, there was a revenge theme. Al, Kevin was looking for revenge against Al, but, in the opener, it was Charles Oliveira and Jim Miller. Jim Miller had beaten him 8 years ago, and it was like, that choke was so fast. He didn't even break. And obviously Jim Miller is incredibly tough, but the fact that Charles Oliveira can get that stuff done that quickly without any kind of damage or anything like that. I mean, that guy is something special. His number 12 submission. Come on.
Yeah. It was super impressive. The way that he picked up Jim Miller like he was a little kid, and Jim Miller tried to slide in that hook on the leg. But, man, I mean, he showed strength. He showed good hips. He got on the back. He took that neck. The whole time, I was watching this, I was shocked that a high-level grappler like Jim Miller was getting his back taken so quickly. And then, B, I was thinking about my buddy, Cristos Siagos, who just fought him. I was thinking, wow, look how good Cristos did against, and grappling with him and striking with him. Eventually, the inevitable happened, but he must have been watching this thinking, wow, I went 2 or 3 rounds with him, and then Oliveira just takes Jim Miller out in under a minute. It was a great performance by him. Did he get a bonus for that or no?
I actually think he didn't.
I don't. Okay. I was gonna say, you know what? Even though it was a great performance and another record, I was happy if they didn't give him a bonus, just because some of these other guys. Right. If you're going through a war and you get a finish, I think the war deserves the bonus much more than the easy fight, because the easy fight, that was your bonus. You get to get out of there unscathed, go home, party, go on the dance floor if you want. The guy on crutches is the guy that needs the bonus.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. But and then the other fight on the main card was Rob Font and Sergio Pettis. I think it might have just been a little soon for Sergio.
Man.
He just fought about 9 weeks ago, and he was coming back up to bantamweight. Rob Font's a big physical guy. I feel like Sergio is such a technically good fighter, but maybe just needs a little bit more time to rebuild into a 35er's body, and just kind of get used to that a little bit more. I just felt like for me, the fight was just kind of frustrating. Like I never felt like Sergio really got his game going. You know what I mean? Rob was just able to kind of neutralize him and inflict his game much more so. And Sergio, I just feel like never really got a shine. You know what I mean? Never had a chance to really let his game get started.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this was one of the best uses of the jab in an MMA, in a UFC fight that I've seen in quite a while. When we think about the jab, we think about guys like GSP and a few others. But man, when you talk about a stiff jab, no chambering, straight firing, and he was stepping into it, landing every single time. A beautiful jab. And then in terms of Pettis, you said it. He's such a technical fighter, and he's very crafty, but he was just kind of getting jabbed up and eaten up. And when he went back to the corner, you could hear Duke or one of his coaches tell him, look, I don't want any more technique. I just want you to go out there and fight and react. Because what I was seeing happen was Pettis was showing a little bit too much grit. He was getting jabbed, and he was wanting to jab back, but he didn't have as good of a jab, and he didn't have nearly the reach that Font had on him. So he was trying to play like a kick-for-kick type game, or a punch-for-punch, rather, but he was losing it. Yeah. And they needed to snap him out of that and say, look, don't get into a dog fight with the jab for jab, and don't get into a technical fight. Go out there and just fight and react. And he would do better when he would do that. But at the end of the day, Font just showed to be a bigger, stronger guy with a better jab, and he knew how to stay right on the edge of the range and use that jab to carry him to the fight. I thought Font looked great. Pettis will be back. I think that was his first time going up in weight since being at flyweight, possibly. In a while. And I think, like you said, it just needs a little more time to get used to fighting these bigger, longer guys in the bigger weight class.
Yeah, and I have a question for you, though. I know you said you didn't get to see all the fights. I'm wondering if you got to see Bobby Green versus Drakkar Klose. Did you get to see that fight?
I wanted to so bad. Obviously, we just worked with Bobby Green, and I didn't get to watch the fight. That's the one that I really wanted to watch in the prelims, but I saw what he said afterward. But go say about it.
Well, so here's what's interesting, and this is one, I'm sorry, I have like a crazy itch right in the back of my, it's driving me nuts. I really want to hear what the viewers, the fans have to say about this one, because it was an incredibly close fight, and I know it's all the jokes about Drakkar Klose or whatever, but an incredibly close fight. I think Drakkar did a better job of like kind of stealing the round at the end or something, right? Because so the real frustration, like with Bobby, you saw that he's like, I'm retiring. He put an Instagram post out. I saw his Instagram post. I start texting with him immediately. I'm like, Bobby, what are you doing? And I tell my producers, I'm like, look, Bobby just said he's retiring. And they're like, hey, if that's true, if he's still in the building, tell him to go over, so we can get him on the show. We can get an interview and yada, yada. Well, he was already gone, obviously. But I'm like, Bobby, what are you saying? Can we talk about this? What are you doing? And then Tyron's like, dude, give me Bobby's number. He's like, I want to talk to him about this. Like, this guy can't retire yet. And I'm like, I know. So I'm texting with him, and I'm like, Bobby, you can't do this. And one of the things I won't say, I'm not going to tell you about our private conversation, but one thing that I will show people is if they look at the statistics, of the fight, right? Because Bobby's been like, look, I don't understand what the judges see. I don't know what they want. I don't know what they see, but they didn't see the fight, right? Because when you look at the stat card that came up after, for total strikes, it was 110 for Bobby, 69 for Drakkar Klose. When it was significant strikes, 92 for Bobby, 58 for Drakkar Klose. When it came to takedowns, 1 for Bobby, none for Drakkar Klose. So he's like, what do I have to do? Like, what do I have to do? And I know that is the same argument that Ioana was using in that second fight with Rose, right? Statistically, my numbers are telling this story. And statistically, Bobby's numbers tell a story of a person who should have won a fight. And so I've been going back and forth with him because he's really torn. He's really upset. He doesn't understand. He's like, what did they see that I didn't do? So I told him I want to try to watch the fight again. I'm pretty sure I have it recorded here or whatever, or try to catch a replay, because in the moment, I remember sitting there going, damn, this is a really close fight. Like, I don't know who they're going to give it to.
Yeah.
And I remember in my head thinking that Drakkar was maybe stealing things at the end, right? A little more impact at the end of a round.
Yeah.
But it's hard to argue with Bobby when you see those numbers, and it was a close fight.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
I agree. I mean, just hearing the numbers, he was almost doubling in all those strikes. I haven't watched your fight. You got me intrigued now. I mean, like I said, I already wanted to watch the fight because I like to go back and see it for these reasons as well. But I'm just gonna play dumb here. I haven't seen the fight, but if I'm guessing, the two things that come up is you mentioned it. Drakkar might have been stealing rounds. You do more damage at the final third of a fight, even if somebody else is winning the first 2/3 of the fight, the final portion is more everlasting in the judge's mind. This is what they saw the fight. And then also, what kind of damage was the strikes doing? If Bobby was punching him twice as much, they always say it in the rules meeting, just to remind our viewers, they say, look, if you punch me 10 times in the face, but I punch you one time and you fall off balance, that one punch is more powerful than the other 10 punches that you land on my judge's scorecard. So that's what the judges are looking for. I didn't see the fight yet. I can't speak on behalf of that what happened. But I imagine something along those lines is probably what the judges might have seen. But look, the judges get it wrong all the time.
Yep.
They could have just got it wrong. The interesting thing about it too, Karyn, is I saw that Bobby lost. And I saw that you tweeted that Bobby was going to retire because of it. So I watched the video. So I went back on some of these websites, the MMA junkies or whatever, that posted Bobby. And they said, what did you guys think of this decision? Kind of setting up a little bit of debate. And every 90%, more than 99% of the comments were like, Bobby got robbed. Bobby got robbed. Horrible decision. It's tough for me to believe that, though, because when somebody says, what did you think of this decision? It usually always ends with the conflict. It usually ends with, well, yeah, they got to get robbed. So I really need to go back and see it because I'm not sure what to believe between the random comments and what I'm hearing with the stats.
Yeah, Bobby was, damaged. His face did take some damage. To your point, if he looks more hurt, and if Drakkar's punches looked more powerful or whatever. But I feel like there were times when both of them staggered the other and both had each other, both landed some seriously considerable shots. So it's just tough. I do want to watch it again. And like you just said, judges get it wrong all the time. And I don't want Bobby to leave because of them, right? I think part of the frustration, too, is his last few fights, like the fight with Lando went to a draw. He's got some fights that didn't go his way. So he's probably also frustrated collectively with how the last few fights have gone. And he had injured. He had to postpone some. So he's probably, a lot of that is just, frustration and anger at yourself. But then when the system fails you like that, when he feels like the judges have failed him like that. And the other thing was, like, right away in the first round, he was complaining that Drakkar was grabbing his gloves. So right away in the first round, he's like, Drakkar has my glove. He has my glove. And he was kind of against the fence a little bit, and he's yelling to the ref, like, he's got my glove, he's got my glove. And partly I was like, Bobby, just focus on the fight. You know what I mean? Like, if the ref is not seeing that, it sucks. But, like, every time you're sitting here going, the glove, you're also not punching. Or, you know what I mean? So I didn't want him to really take himself out of the fight. But at the same time, if Drakkar is doing something that's illegal and the ref isn't seeing it, then, yeah, that's a problem too. And again, in the conversation I've had with Bobby, he said that, Paul had mentioned it too on the broadcast, Felder. And yeah, I mean, we know it happens. We know people, try, you try for every advantage sometimes in a fight, but usually that would be a point deduction. And you know what I mean? Like, so there is a lot going in there, and I get it. There's a lot of frustration for Bobby. Now, anybody out there who's a Drakkar fan and that thought that Drakkar clearly won, I'm sure you're thinking that it's just, rotten, what is it, rotten grapes, spoiled it, whatever, that he's just bitter.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But there is a lot to consider into how that fight might not have actually been called correctly. It sucks. So again, I need to watch it again too, because in the moment I was like, damn, that was a really close fight.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Drakkar fan, sorry, we're all about Bobby Green, but we know Bobby Green. I'm not that familiar with Drakkar at all. But Bobby Green's a guy that I don't want him to retire. Definitely, he's probably just a little bit emotional. all the frustration gathered together, and then thinking that he finally went out there and did what needed to do to get that win, to get him, reinvigorated, and it didn't happen again. I think he's just speaking a little bit too soon. But Bobby's a guy that I cornered against him. He fought one of my guys when I was cornering him 12 years ago. And I thought my guy won. I jumped the cage, ran into the ring. Actually, the bell had ring. I jumped out. They go into the third round. Bobby knocks my guy out. And ever since then, I've had my eye on Bobby Green. Yeah. And I've liked him. I became a in the feet, I became a fan of Bobby Green. And watching his career blossom as he came into the UFC, he's a guy that will always throw down. Yeah. I don't want to see him retire. He's still a young guy, still got lots of fighting ahead of him. Let him take some time off, get that fire burning inside, figure things out. But we don't want to see it in the Bobby Green just so soon in his career. Agreed.
So that was UFC Milwaukee for me. That was the last UFC on Fox. It was fun. All in all, it really was great. And if people didn't see it, we do have the Iaquinta and Barboza. I think they put the interviews out online. I think they did, or at least one of them. But also, Ben Askren had come by. And I don't know if they put that interview out either. But Ben Askren, that was the first time I'd met him. And he was totally cool. He came on our pre-fight show. And he was a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to watching him fight Robbie. But if that one is online, people should look for it. It's kind of entertaining. But here's the thing, Alan, that I know is online, because this morning when I texted you and I was like, Alan, I can't do the podcast right at the right time because I have to go see Anderson at his new gym. And you're just like, damn, Anderson. Like, it is funny. Like, Anderson Silva, as much as some people still want to, complain about him or, make fun of his losses or things that have happened outside the octagon or whatever, like, at the end of the day, it's still Anderson freaking Silva. And
Star
the dude
power,
is a legit legend. And it's always fun to catch up with him. So he has, this new gym in in West Hollywood, right on La Cienega, called Spider Kick Gym. He's going to be doing his training there for the fight with Israel, but he'll also be able to train people and celebrities. So, I literally think people could look up Spider Kick Gym and, get sessions with him themselves, but he has a new team, still working with Ed Suarez, but in terms of his, strength and conditioning team and that kind of stuff, he's got new people around him. He was in a really good mood this morning, so we have a full press conference up on my YouTube channel here and on MMAHeat.com and all that, but then also I grabbed a few minutes with just Anderson alone, talk about the comparisons. A lot of people are like, oh, it's like you're fighting yourself, fighting Israel Adesanya, and just some fun stuff like that. Like, to me, it's always a real treat to see Anderson, and he's so gregarious, and he's giving me and Wade big hugs when he sees us in the morning. How's your baby? And this and that. I don't know if he'll win the fight, but I like Anderson Silva in the fight game. I like having him with us. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like. It's more fun when he's around.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, Anderson Silva has been the guy that I have looked up to as a young fighter for a very long time. He was the guy that I studied the most, and he's the guy that there's a picture of me. I'm gonna find it one day, but there's a picture of me, an embarrassing picture, but I'll share it, of the first time I saw Anderson Silva at Black House. I was sparring. And I saw him walk in. I was sparring one of the Russian Bellator fighters. And so I was trying not to, take my eye off of sparring, but I was watching him the whole time. And then in between rounds, the bell had rang. I just ran up to Anderson and gave him a hug. And then a photographer was there, and he took a picture of the hug. And while I'm hugging him, you see my back, and you see his face facing the camera, and he's going like who's this guy? The random kid running up and hugging me. And that was my first time kind of meeting Anderson Silva, and it didn't go well. But what I'm getting at is he's a star. He's on another level. He's done so much for the sport. He's inspired so many of us fighters going up. So even if I don't think that, or a lot of us don't think that he's quite on the fighting level as he is, as he used to be, he still has a star quality, star power about him. As you said, I don't know if he will win this next fight. I will definitely be watching. Even Israel Adesanya said that this was kind of his hero, but now he has to fight him, and he won't hold back. It'll be entertaining. I hope it's an entertaining fight, and we don't see kind of an older, slower Anderson against a young, hungry guy. But as you said, he's a star. I'm going to have to check out his gym. It's entertaining that it's interesting that he will be doing his training at the Holly or Beverly Hills gym, being that he lives somewhere like near around the Huntington area, right? I mean, he's in a kind of like South Bay or something.
Yeah, he used to have his gym in Torrance, but that closed.
Right.
They had some problems, I think, with the building or something. So this is smaller. The one he had in Torrance, the Muay Thai Academy, was bigger. This is smaller. Sort of when you first walk in, there's an area with weight training, and there's like, you know, massage room and different things. Then there's kind of a courtyard, and then in the back is where he'll have kind of the dojo with the mats and everything. So it's a different kind of a setup.
Gotcha.
But you know, still obviously he has a lot of people. You know, he knows obviously the right people to come in and train with. And the guy he brought in. So if you watch the press conference, you'll see he brought in Pereira, this fighter who is actually the one who knocked out Adesanya in kickboxing. So he brought in this guy.
Oh, he brought in a K1 guy.
I think his name is Anthony Pereira or something. He fought Israel twice and beat him twice. Once by decision and once by knockout. And so this guy's a pretty big guy. Wow. And Anderson has him now, so he's training with him. And so it'll be interesting to see who Israel has to imitate Anderson. But Anderson actually has the guy that beat Israel twice. So that's kind of interesting. So you guys, like I said, if you watch the full press conference, you'll meet that guy as well. And he talks a little bit about his experience with fighting Israel and what he hopes to be able to do with Anderson and that kind of stuff. So what?
He also has his own cryo.
He has his cryo thing. Wade was saying Anderson has a cryo thing in his gym too, which I'll never need. But it was funny because, you know, I've said this before, and I feel bad because I do love my Kings MMA, and I've always said to Hoffa, like, Hoffa, when you get a gym in Hollywood, I got to come train there, which he has a gym in Hollywood, and I haven't yet trained there because the Hollywood traffic sucks so bad. And also just the time that Hoffa's there is not like when I can be there. But then literally today, Anderson, same thing. He's like, oh, yeah, you know, you need to come back and train, be fun. I'm like, don't say that. Like, because I'm the same way. Like,
he's good.
I used to do Taekwondo or whatever, but like, if you could tell me I could go and like train with Anderson Silva, I'd be like, okay, like
Maybe you'll fight some traffic.
Yeah, I'll fight the traffic to train with
traffic for a little while.
It's closer though. It's closer than
That's cool. I'm gonna have to
gym.
check out the interview. I'm curious. I'm gonna have to check out the interview. I'm curious to look up his training partner's fight with Israel and do a little research on it. That's a smart move. Smart move by the former champ Anderson Silva, bringing in a former opponent of Israel.
Exactly.
Probably a young, hungry K1 type guy. So it'll help him out a lot.
Exactly. Now, the other thing, looking ahead to the end of the year, because we only have one more fight left this year, Wade was at Cyborg's training last Monday. So Chris was training with our buddy, Jason Perillo, who we love so much. And so Wade's got all that footage of Cyborg up already. He's got it in 360. I think He's going to be putting out the 360 version of it, but the just a straight up version of it is on MMAHeat.com, so people can go there and see Cyborg. And it's funny because, you know, the more I see of Amanda getting ready, and then today while we were at Anderson's thing, I was talking to my friend Evie, who I do Trokasau with, who works for Kambachi. And by the way, folks, Trokasau is just on hold because we're revamping it, and we actually have some big ideas of what we're going to do with it to kind of get more reach with that in Brazil and just internationally. So it's not done. It's just been on hold for a while. But anyway, she was saying, you know, she was doing some stuff with Amanda, and like the more I'm talking about it with other people and stuff, and the more footage you see, you're like, I don't know who's going to win that fight. Like, I can't. Usually you think Cyborg, you always just say Cyborg, right? And in a lot of situations,
you don't bet against
would
Cyborg,
just say Amanda against whoever they're against. But now the two of them together, and you're like, I actually don't know. Like, I legit don't know who's going to win that fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. You heard DC when they were promoing that fight. DC, they gave DC that one, and he was like, well, I'm not so as excited about the Gustafsson John Jones. This is the real main event for me in my eyes. And DC got a lot of hate from that. He got a lot of people hating on him that he said that this was the main event. But this is really an exciting fight. I don't think many fights get more exciting than a rematch between. Well, just anytime John Jones steps into the octagon, it's exciting. This is the comeback of John Jones, and now he's fighting the guy that was the most competitive against him in his entire career, which was Gustafsson. So this should be such an entertaining fight. But it's just like salivating when you think, oh wait, we get Cyborg and Amanda Nunes as the co-main event, two of the baddest and Brazilian baddest lionesses on the planet. And they're going to clash now in a super fight. what a way to finish the year. Two great fights. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know in either of these fights with Amanda Nunes and Chris and Cyborg, who's going to win. You would kind of lean, a little bit of me wants to lean towards Cyborg,
right.
But we haven't seen these two stylistically matched up with one another. They're both. So when you look at Jon Jones and Gustafsson, you would, of course, lean towards Jon Jones. But then again, he's been off for a while. Gustafsson may have been off for a while too. But at the end of the day, these two guys pair up against one another so close. It was the championship experience of Jon Jones who got him through that last fight by winning that fifth and final round. Since then, they've both gotten better, but Gustafsson has fought in a lot more 5-round fights since then. He knows how to weather the storm and how to save momentum, how to finish strongly now. So yeah. I think if it comes down to a close fight in a fifth round, we're going to see a smarter Gustafsson or somebody with a more will to win than we did in the first fight. So at the end of the day, man, those two fights I'm looking forward to so much.
Me too. I'm sitting here like with this like goofy grin of like, yeah, hey, and it's gonna be like I was the other day, like the same thing with Fox, right? Like so the whole night I'll be like, let's go, let's freaking go, right? I'm gonna just want to see my girls throw down. But then once they throw down, that means like, oh no, I'm closer to the end of the day. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a weird...
One more fight,
yeah. It's going to be a weird thing. But I cannot wait to see Gus and Jon throw down. Same thing about, like I was just saying about with Anderson back. Like, you know, MMA is more fun with Jon Jones in it. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? It's more fun with him in it. So I'm glad he's back. I just need him, you know... We just need him to stay in the game, Jon. Just stay in the game. Just... Don't screw up, you know?
We just don't want to hear before or after the fight that there was some type of test or something that came in that messes everything up. Just fight, win or lose, and let nothing on the outside of the cage happen, and we'll be good with it.
Exactly. All right, so you are going home for the holidays, right? You're going to visit the family?
That's it. Heading to Louisiana tomorrow, so... I guess we don't have any podcasts in the meantime, right? I'll be back the day after Christmas.
Yeah, because
the next fight's
next Monday would be Christmas Eve, so maybe we just do something. I mean, you know, I'll go to Vegas on the 27th, and we'll, you know, just kind of hit the ground running there and stuff. But, you know, we can touch base. I know you are also doing your quicker hit things. So if you have an opinion on something while you're down in Louisiana, people will be able to just check out your clips, right?
Exactly. I planned on doing it. I plan on bringing my microphone and my stuff. I've been doing the unguarded stuff on my YouTube channel. And, man, sometimes me and Karyn talk about stuff and we cover these fights. And then I go to bed and I'm like, but you know what? I got to go watch this fight that she told me about. Or I need to see this interview or something comes out. And I just had this thought in my head, like, you know what? I need to talk about it. So I've been throwing it down on the Unguarded show. That's on my YouTube page. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't subscribed yet.
Cool. Very cool. It's funny too. I think I was telling you that I got to keep all my stuff from Fox. So I brought a ton of clothes home.
Oh, are you clothes?
Ton of stuff. Which is like a weird feeling, right? You're like, I'm so sad. Bye, everybody. I can keep all the dresses.
Well, you get a parting gift is always nice. Yeah, or many of them.
I know. It's a weird time, and it's like the end of the year, the end of it, and it's strange too because we've known, right? We've had like this countdown clock. We've all known, and that's months away. Oh, that's another month away. Oh, that's weeks away, and then it's like, oh, it's a week away. So it is going to be tricky, and it's going to be interesting, and for next year. Like, things are going to be different, and for people who are asking me, you know, the questions and everything, and I was basically alluding to it at the top of the show, but yes, the plan is that I'm staying, and I will be going over and working on ESPN. It's just that we don't know how the shows are going to go yet in terms of they will be different from the way Fox is doing things. So I can't, there's some people asking me questions. I just don't really have the answers yet because we don't know. I am being honest with you. I still need to put the finishing touches and actually ink up the contract and everything. But I, knock wood, don't see any issues. It's really, we've done all the hard work. It's just one or two little details or something like that. But I'm totally excited about it. I think it's going to be an incredible thing. I'm a person who loves a new adventure. But that said, I do not like saying goodbye to a lot of the people that I've gotten to love at Fox, but I'm so looking forward to doing this, and next year we'll be on the road much more. The desk is going to be on the road on fight nights. That is one thing that I love. We got to do it the other day in Milwaukee. You get the fighters right up on the desk with the blood on their shorts, and they're still, dripping. Iaquinta's trying to put, ice on one part of this and wipe the blood off over here. There's nothing more real than that, right? It's as real as it gets, and I totally love that, and I'm excited about that. But I'm going to miss my goofy stage managers at Fox. I'm going to, the director in my ear and all that stuff. So it is a tough transition, but I'm going to try to make the best of it.
I can imagine. So 7 years, however long you've been there, it's a long time to call it quits, or not call it quits, but to open up a new chapter, I might say.
Well, and people know, I got there in 2012, so people know in television, a lot of time you don't stay at one place for a very long time, right? You're working on a show, the show gets canceled, or you get canceled, or whatever. So I've really had an opportunity there. But I will be still doing things with Fox. I'll be anchoring the dog show in February, and hopefully doing more football in the year ahead and stuff. So we'll see. There's a lot of things that I still want to do with them. But the face punching... The face punching will continue. And Alan, you're going to fight next year, and so maybe at one point I'll be covering one of your fights on the road. We get you up to the desk with us or something. That'd be dope.
I very much look forward to that. Hopefully it's on the big the big ESPN, like the big Fox, the big ESPN at a great location here in the States.
Cool. All right. Well, listen, in terms of social media, KB Heat on Instagram for me, and then Karyn Bryant across the board on everything else, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. Of course, follow MMA Heat on Instagram, Twitter, and all that good stuff as well. MMAHeat.com is where we put everything. We also have it up on YouTube.com. But again, we've got some fresh new stuff with Anderson and Cyborg, and I'm going to try to line up a few more interviews before, next week. It's just a little, I know I saw that Gus and Alir Latifi are already in Vegas, so I'm going to try to hit these guys up while it's not too crazy with the holidays. But to be honest with you, Alan, I need to do a lot of holiday shopping. I'm kind of behind. So this week I'm going to be like a crazy person.
I haven't done anything. Well, I'm flying to Louisiana, so I'll do it when I get there. But I got to check out the Anderson Silva interview that you put up. I need to see what's going on with that. And then if you haven't followed me on anything yet, guys, at Alan Jouban across the board on everything. Same thing on YouTube. My channel, and appreciate you guys viewing tonight.
Yes, and happy holidays to everybody. Hopefully folks had a great Hanukkah. Hopefully folks will have a great Christmas and Kwanzaa and everything else that's being celebrated that I want to give people opportunity to every other holiday under the sun.
Same here.
All right, thanks for watching, folks.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one.